This year's hurricane and severe weather season is on track to outdo last year's storms. Are you certain that your family and home are prepared if disaster strikes? Join me now as I discuss family readiness, home preparation, and more with meteorologist Mark McGinnis. Well, hurricane season is less than a month away, and Colorado State University hurricane researchers are predicting a slightly above average season, including 14 named storms, half of them reaching hurricane strength. If you live in a potentially hurricane territory, you'll definitely want to be ready. Well, here are some tips on how to prepare your home and family for this year's season. It's meteorologist Mark McGinnis. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me, Makeba.
Now, first, can you give us a little more about what they're predicting for this year's season according to reports?
Yeah, absolutely. So the forecast you just shared with the listeners came out about a month ago from Colorado State, forecasting average to slightly above average. And to kind of give you a baseline, typically we see 12 named storms during a season. They're forecasting about 14. Now, next week, the National Weather Service comes out with their official forecast. That's on the 24th of May. So it'll be very interesting to see what their forecast is for next week. Is it in line with the Colorado State forecast, or does it change? And if so, they'll explain why. So there'll be some interesting reading there.
Absolutely. Now, we know that it's not just hurricanes that can wreak havoc, but also other types of severe weather all across the country. Now, when it comes to hurricanes as well as other issues like tornadoes, strong thunderstorms, and flooding, what are the main problems that can affect our homes and communities?
Well, Makeba, the biggest issue is with the stronger storms, whether it's severe weather or hurricanes or even wintry weather, we find major disruption in our normal lives. Our normal routine, well, it's suspended for a few days, and in some locations, several weeks. And the reason why is this is significant weather. It can knock out power for up to several weeks in some locations. You might also find with flooding that roads are covered or washed away, at which point it's just not safe to be outside. And during the colder months, wintry weather, it can knock out power and also make things dangerous for several days. So first and foremost, respect Mother Nature. If you have one of these big storms, understand that you're not going to be able to go out to the grocery store or to Target first thing tomorrow morning. That might have to be pushed off a day or two.
Absolutely. Now, what are some things that we can start doing now to get our homes ready for the severe weather and even things such as a natural disaster?
Well, I would recommend making sure you check your insurance. Do you have the right level of insurance against wind, water, and hail for you to be able to recover? If you have to file a claim, can you get that house repaired as quickly as possible so you can get back to normal as quickly as possible? That's what we want. We want to be able to ride through the storm and then get back to normal as quickly as possible. You also want to be able to inspect your house. So if you don't feel comfortable doing it, hire someone to check out your house, your windows, your doors, your siding, your roof, your garage door. Make sure that's all in really good shape and it can sustain some of the stronger winds that we have across the area. A third thing that's really good to do as far as getting your house prepared, if you have a backup generator, and this morning I'm here on behalf of Generac, they want to make sure that you're using it properly and smartly. And a backup generator always has to be outside and at least 15 feet away from any entry point. So again, keep it far away from the house, keep your house safe, keep it powered.
Good information to know, because in a disaster it can be hard to remember those tips on how to use that generator properly. So thank you so much for sharing that. Now, what are some of the ways that we can also make sure that our families are able to weather a storm should one hit?
So Makeba, I think the first thing you need to find out, is it safe to shelter in place? Is our home safe? Is emergency management asking us to evacuate? If you're being asked to evacuate, it's really good right now to kind of call out family members and see if they live far enough away, if they could shelter you for several days if a storm was to hit your area. And then you want to return that favor too. So if they say yes and they live a state or two away, out of the threat, you can go there. The kids will be happier because they'll see their cousins potentially. And then if they have bad weather and they have to evacuate, obviously open your doors to them. So have those conversations now. Don't have them 2 days before the storm hits or even 5 days before the storm hits, because that may not be the best time to have that conversation. If you are going to shelter in place, if you've found that your house is safe, you're not being asked to evacuate, well, then you need to get it prepared to be there for several days with the inability to get outside. So what I mean by that is you need to have supplies. So make sure you have 3 days worth of food, water, and medication for everybody who's going to stay at the house. You want to make sure you have at least 1 gallon per person per day. We use a lot of water, so make sure you have a lot of it. Another thing you want to have is a NOAA weather radio with battery backup so you can stay informed about the weather even after the power goes out. You want to fill up all of your vehicles with gas, and if you have gas cans, fill them up too, because if the power goes out, the pumps aren't going to work. Also, you know what else is not going to work, McCabe? Your credit card, your debit card too, if the power's out. So get cash before the storm, because the plastic's not going to work if the power's out.
All excellent tips. Thank you for sharing those with us. And lastly, Mark, where can people go for more ideas on safeguarding their homes and families when disaster strikes?
So McCabe, yeah, we've covered a lot, but you know what? There's actually even more. So the best thing to do is have great resources, and I have 2 of them for your listeners. One is ready.gov. It's a website that's managed by FEMA, and it has every catastrophe you could think of and how to be properly prepared for those catastrophes. Also, Generac.com has a great section on their website called Be Prepared. It breaks down by weather variable. So it could be wintry storm, hurricane, or severe weather. You can click on those and print out checklists for how to be prepared. You can print that out, stick it on your refrigerator, and kind of gauge how well you're prepared you are for the next storm. And if you don't think you are, you can go look at that reference of the checklist and then go out and grab those supplies.
Love that they're easy and very accessible.
Yes.
And again, for more information and more ideas on how to safeguard your home this season, you can visit ready.gov as well as Generac.com, and be sure to get those printables, stick them on your fridge or somewhere where they're easily seen, so that way you can be prepared this season. Thank you so much for joining me, Mark. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you, McCabe. Have a great weekend.